there are 5 food groups that are missing from most of our plates. And they are the 5 food groups that when you look at chronic disease, because I think we also need to understand, like, what's your goal when we talk about changing your diet in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. Everyone has different goals. So like in your 20s, it might be massively like optimizing your sports performance because you're in a sports team, or that can be any decade, but let's just take an example, right? 30s, it might be that actually you're planning to have a family and you want to optimize your fertility. And then your 40s, you might need like really optimize your immune system function, your energy, because you're traveling loads for work. There's different goals across the life course for different people. So understanding that nutrition plays a pivotal role at every life stage. I mean, the life stage where nutrition has the most long-term impacts is definitely in the womb. First 1,000 days of life, from conception to second birthday, your exposures to nutrition in that time have very long-lasting impacts. So especially when we think about severe undernutrition or overnutrition. Now we see that pregnant mothers who consume, for example, a really high amount of sugar-sweetened beverages in pregnancy, the children of those mothers are much more likely to develop metabolic disease later in life. So there are lasting impacts. But at every decade, and this is exactly what my book is about, at every decade, there is a different outcomes and impacts, but the advice is fairly simple. So again, like I want to demystify this idea that no one can agree on which diet. No, bollocks. We all agree. Like anyone who's worked in the space and reads the research can see that essentially a Mediterranean diet, which is gut centric, so high in fiber, high in bioactive compounds like polyphenols, also with fermented foods such as cheeses and yogurts, right, delivers the best outcomes across health outcomes in dozens and dozens and hundreds of trials with millions of people. So it's kind of like, so the trials, I should specify, dozens of trials and dozens of cohort studies, so looking at millions of people across both types of study. And it's not a mystery. We know the dietary pattern, which is made up mostly of plants, includes a lot of whole foods, is really the crux of it, Emily. I think we've moved quite far from having the majority of our diet come from whole foods now, especially in the UK and the US. So when you think about it, it's like, okay, let's go back to whole foods and then let's talk about the categories of whole foods. And as I said earlier, like the 5 food groups that are missing from most of our plates are beans, legumes, lentils, chickpeas, green peas, these guys, whole grains. So whole grains, when I say that, I don't necessarily mean buying the whole grain bread. I mean literally eating buckwheat and quinoa and spelt and barley, things that now can be quite hard to find in supermarkets, by the way, because people
You're going to go to all of these little boutique shops that sell them, and it can be hard to find them, and you think that, but actually something that looks like a grain is a grain.
Yeah, and I mean oats, luckily, still easy to find. I mean, so spelt's having a comeback, and quinoa definitely had a glow up. So there's some of that on the market. But for example,
you glow up quinoa.
Yeah, it definitely did, right? And then oats are interesting because it's actually quite hard to find steel cut oats. So like the whole oat, you kind of get the rolled oats much more easily than steel cut. So that just goes to show is like the demand drives what we get sold. So I would love for people to like go out and be like, I'm going to go and find me a whole grain and buy it, because then the supermarket's like, oh, people are buying whole grain, we should get some. So there's
what's
the
difference between the rolled oats then and the cut oats?
So the whole oat really looks like a seed, and the steel cut oats is the seed but just chopped up a little bit, which makes cooking easier. The rolled oats are that seed that's been chopped up, or sometimes actually the whole seed that's been steamed under high pressure and then rolled out. And what happens is that when you do that, first of all, you're changing the structure because you're steaming it, so you're already changing that. And then by rolling it out into like the familiar rolled oat flakes, you are removing quite a lot of the husk, so the external fiber comes with the seed. And then that lovely fiber that's removed is then sold back to you as oat bran supplement. which is cool. So you can do that if you want. Or sold to for farming as well. So like cattle fed oat bran too. So there's whole grains, there's legumes, and I think I really encourage people to get into legumes. Just go for it. Find delicious recipes. Just get stuck in. Try it. If hummus is the way in for you, like make hummus with lots of different types of legumes. Or perhaps you're someone who just loves green peas and you just expand for green peas to edamame beans and just go for it every day. Nuts and seeds. So most of us actually don't eat nuts and seeds daily, which is a real shame because they're a nutritional powerhouse. They had a lot of bad PR because of their fat content and calorie content in the 80s. And we now know that actually, because whole nuts have such a strong food matrix, like they're hard, right? You don't absorb a hell of a lot of the fats or of the energy from them. And the fats are the healthy kind, so we're not worried, actually. So nuts and seeds, put them on everything. Shout out to chia seeds for just when you soak them and make a chia pudding. It's like transformational for your gut. They loves it. Microbiome loves
Why?
it.
Why? What is it? Because I use the chia seeds and then I look at them and I go, you guys are so small. What are you
They're
doing?
so
What's,
small.
I know they're so
Well, they
small.
have an amazing amount of fiber for a tiny seed, and when you soak them, that gelatinous that's fibers, that's soluble fibers that have just like expanded, and it just your gut loves it, and it helps you to be more regular, going to the loo. They also have a high amount of omega-3 ALAs, so a form of omega-3 that you find in plants, and they're actually high in protein. So like of the healthy plant protein. So it's like, oh, just great. Just go for
Yeah,
this
win,
chip,
win, win.
give them a
Yeah.
soak, add them to your porridge, add them to whatever you like. And then the fourth group is fresh fruit. So fruit has, again, been demonized. It's got sugar in it. You shouldn't have it. It's like genuinely fresh whole fruit is going to save your life, especially when it comes to heart health. It massively decreases the risk of heart disease. Though, I think, again, the food industry's had a part to play here because when the portion of fruit and veg advice came out, or was reinforced rather, a lot of companies made fruit juices and then called them a portion of fruit. And it's not, okay? So fresh whole fruit, I really mean a whole fruit. Now, no shade on juices occasionally, especially if you're squeezing your own orange juice. Like, I don't want people to be scared of that. But eating the whole fruit delivers way more in terms of benefits than the fruit juice alone. So it's worth making sure that you have fresh fruit. Now, fresh fruit can also be frozen berries. So if you find that fresh fruit is actually quite hard to keep, or perhaps it's expensive, especially berries, frozen berries are great. Crack on, like go for it. So fresh whole fruit needs to come back on the menu. And the fifth group that's quite neglected and we're low in our diets is omega-3 rich foods. So I did mention chia have ALAs, so does walnuts, but actually the omega-3s found in fish are the sort of EPA type, which is what we need more of. And so for that, you kind of like embrace oily fish. So that doesn't have to mean salmon two or three times a week. It can be sprats, it can be anchovies, it can be sardines, tinned mackerel. There are so many great oily fish. And tinned fish, especially if you're not a lover of cooking fish and the smell of cooking fish, great. Tinned mackerel is an unsung hero of sandwiches and pates. Just, you can put it anywhere. It's delicious. Those 5 food groups are lacking on most of our plates.